So we are down to our very last speaker, which I'm sure you're thrilled that I'm the last speaker. The bad news is I also control the timer, so you might be in trouble. I basically just want to say that I'm blown away. I'm really blown away. This conference has been a dream for several years, and we tried to sell it to other companies we've worked at. We tried to sell it to other organizations we've partnered with, and we could never get buy-in to do this. And seeing it come together today is truly a dream. So thank you to Gamma and Noel, and thank you for everybody for being here, and all the speakers who were just awesome, who, by the way, got absolutely nothing from us to be here. They truly are here because they wanted to be here. Early on in my career, at Farm Bureau of Iowa, I got some really great advice during orientation. They taught us about the industry, taught us why what we do is important. They taught us how to grow within the industry. And a big part of that how to grow was get your AIC, get your AINS, get your CPCU. And I did. I got my AIC and my AINS. I was working at the claims call center at Farm Bureau. And I got my AIC and my AINS, and those resulted in getting hired by Nationwide, a significantly bigger company. And they found me. They found me on LinkedIn, and they called me and asked me to come interview. And I said, I don't have the experience in the type of claims that you want me to handle. And they said, that's fine. You've got your AIC. We know that you can learn how to do medical claims. So I went over to Farm Bureau. I went over from Farm Bureau to Nationwide, and I continuing following that advice. So I continued working on my insurance education, got my CPCU within that first year. And at the end of the year, our department had a little celebration where they recognized all of us who had gotten designations during the year. And at the very end of that, they kind of made a big deal when they called me, because I did my CPCU really quickly. And so later in the day, our AVP of claims, Dick Kleiner, actually he's still there, came over to my desk, and to my cube, and shook my hands, congratulated me, and I was telling him thank you and how I did it so quickly. And a co-worker, one of my teammates, kind of got up, she sat right next to me, Erin Pierce, and told Dick how I had helped many of our teammates get started on their educational adventure, getting their AIC and getting started on their designations, including her. And so I sent a quick email to Dick to thank him for having stopped by, and he replied and said, the most impressive thing I saw today is not how quickly you did your CPCU, but it's that you're helping your teammates grow. And that really stuck with me. It really stuck with me. So 7 years ago, I had this crazy idea that insurance was actually a great career for young professionals. And that the only reason that we were having so much trouble keeping those young professionals in the company, the only reasons, is number one, nobody grows up wanting to work in insurance, even risk management majors. Number two, most kids in the company didn't know how awesome insurance careers were once you got out of the call center, once you got out of the entry-level jobs. And number three, and maybe most important, they didn't know how to grow out of the areas of the company that they were in. And I saw many people drop out and go to other industries that are not as great in the long term because they just didn't know the careers that they could have in insurance, and they didn't know how to grow. So I became really involved with Nationwide's Young Professional Group, and I helped create a chapter of it at our office in Des Moines. And I met this quiet call center rep called Carly, and convinced her to become the secretary of the group and handle the organizational piece which was my Achilles heel. I can get people excited, I can't organize my way out of my paper bag. And with no budget, with little support, and an attitude of asking for forgiveness rather than asking for permission, we started hosting speaking events, inviting company VPs to tell us how they made it to where they were, inviting people to come, grabbing the biggest auditorium the company had, again, without asking permission, video conferencing them out to the other offices that had that option, and teleconferencing them out to the ones that didn't, and even recording them just on our cell phone. We even, in the second year, we even got the CEO, Steve Rasmussen, to speak to the group. We also wrote this tiny 250-word articles on the company's social network. We called them Millennial Career Advice. And sometimes there were things as silly as wear a watch, things as silly as how to dress for the job you want on a call center budget. So they were tiny, silly little articles. And it started paying dividends, basically. We started getting tons of messages from kids in the call center and in entry-level claims about how we had helped them and how they now knew what awesome careers in insurance could be, and they now had a much better idea of how to rise to the better levels of the industry. And I felt like I was really making a difference, and I loved that feeling. Somehow, I talked my way into the Financial Leadership Rotation Program, or FLRP at Nationwide, which is an elite program that takes 10 people a year, mostly brand new MBAs. I made it as an internal candidate, and I relocated to our headquarters in Columbus, Ohio. I got a 43% raise. I thought I was on top of the world. I loved my time in the program, and I failed. I failed horribly, and basically got shown the door after a year, in what was supposed to be a 1.5 to 2 year program. Luckily, my passion for insurance came through, and instead of showing me the door out of the company, they basically asked me, "You're not an insurance person. You're not a finance person, but you are an insurance person. Where do you want to go?" So I said, I want to go either back to underwriting, or I want to go to become a sales manager. So they helped me to get the interviews to be a sales manager. And as part of this process, which was very stressful, as I knew when my last day would be if I didn't find a new role, I asked several VPs that I had met for help. And one of them, Jose Cruz, he used to be an AVP of sales with Nationwide. He's now RVP for Latin America with Chubb. He made some phone calls to some of his friends, and he opened some doors. And it ended up leading to me getting a role in Sacramento, California. And after he made the phone calls and he got me the interview, he said, "I only ask two things. Number one, don't let me down. And number two, pay it forward." I did a year in Sacramento, and eventually, both Carly and I got recruited away from Nationwide. And we took much better positions on opposite sides of the country. I was on the field in Northern California with American Modern, and basically the rest is history. That is how this whole thing got started. Basically, one day, I called her while I was driving around Northern California, 70,000 miles in the company car in 1 year. I called her and I said, "Hey, I really miss the work we used to do with the Gen Y Associate group or the Young Professionals group. And I think we should start doing that for the overall industry." So we started blogging on LinkedIn, and that grew into what today is Insurance Nerds at insnerds.com. The first 10 or 15 articles we published, they're still on the website. We didn't even have the name. It took us a while to come up with the name Insurance Nerds. But basically, since then, the idea has been very similar. It's been, we want to encourage people to pursue careers in insurance, and once they get here, we want to help them grow. And we figured that in order to help them grow, we also had to help management understand how to better manage them. So we ended up doing a lot with that. We ended up doing a lot of public speaking, writing a book about that. Then we met Nick, and Nick told us, "You should start a podcast." We said, "Yes, we have no idea how." And he said, "I don't die, but I'll do it." And today, Profiles in Risk, our podcast, has started a revolution within podcasts. There used to be no carrier side podcasts. Now there's several really good ones, and our own is now at episode 112 or 113 in just a year and a half. I also started this thing called chatwithtony.com, where any insurance professional, basically I got tired of having to coordinate, because I can't organize my way out of a paper bag, having to coordinate the time for the conversations with the people that were asking me for advice. So Chat with Tony automated that. It still exists, chatwithtony.com. And 185 people I chatted with last year, many of whom are now in better jobs, most of whom have stayed in the industry. About 55 or 60 this year. And it's all been basically trying to follow what I learned at Farm Bureau about education and insurance, and trying to follow the advice that I got from Jose Cruz of paying it forward. The only difference between you guys and me is that I was crazy enough to think that I didn't need permission, didn't need a budget, I didn't need a title. In fact, I just wanted to be a leader in the truest sense of the word. I have never even been a manager, let's put it that way. But we've made a huge difference in the industry. Just recently, I spent the whole day at Westfield Insurance, 13 hours, and they showed me how they are implementing the ideas from our book. So we have really, and we've done this with no budget. We've done this, we just wanted to ignite a fire under people, basically. So what I want to leave you with, I want to call on every one of you to do the same. In your own way. You don't have to dress like Superman. You don't have to make a fool of yourself. Do it in your own authentic style. That's basically what it's all about. Unleash your authentic passion for helping others, which after all is what our industry is about. Today I know that the great majority of the audience is RMI majors. Biggest thing I needed to remember is that you were very, very lucky. Somebody reached you early on and got you into RMI, probably because Gamma had free pizza. But it got you into RMI, and you are going to get jobs to begin your career that take the rest of us 5, sometimes 8 years to get to. So at 23, 24 years old, you'll have the job that I was 31 by the time I got to. So please remember that 85 to 90% of your peers in the company don't have an RMI background. Okay, they don't know that insurance is a great career. They don't know how to grow in insurance. They know very little about the technical side of insurance. So what I want you to do is, once you start your careers after you graduate, find the people, find the kids your age who don't have that background, and help them fall in love with insurance. Tell them about CPCU. Tell them about how awesome insurance careers can be. Tell them about the experiences you've had through Gamma, the people you've met through Gamma. Tell them about insurance nerds. That's what we're here for. Because honestly, there is nothing more rewarding than when somebody calls you or messages you to let you know that they got their dream job because of the advice that you've given them. It keeps me going for a couple months every time we get a message like that, and we get them often. So basically, please know that the insurance nerds and myself, we are here to help you grow your career and send those people who don't know about us. And we only ask the same 2 things that Jose asked of me after opening a door for me. Don't let me down, and pay it forward. Thank you.